It is a bewildering business.
Away, alone, alas, loved along there.
River run, past Eve and Adams, from swerve of shore to bend of bay, brings us by a commodious vicus of recirculation back to Howth Castle and environs.
The pilgrim's progress from this world to that which is to come, delivered under the similitude of a dream, wherein is discovered the manner of his setting out, his dangerous journey, and safe arrival at the desired country.
As I walked through the wilderness of this world, I lighted on a certain place where was a den, and I laid me down in that place to sleep. And as I slept, I dreamed a dream. I saw a man clothed with rags, standing in a certain place, with his face from his own house, a book in his hand, and a great burden upon his back.
All those years.
Remember the story I used to tell you when you were a boy? About a young prince, a knight, sent by his father, the king of the East, west into Egypt to find a pearl. A pearl from the depths of the sea. But when the prince arrived, the people poured him a cup that took away his memory. He forgot he was the son of the king. Forgot about the pearl. And fell into a deep sleep. The king didn't forget his son. He continued to send word. Messengers. Guides. But the prince slept on.
One thing that explains the enchantment of a place like Wawa is that when you come here, you're virtually forced to set aside all the silly, superficial notions of escalation, emotional escalation, for instance, that govern one's life in the city. I think perhaps that's really why I don't like life in the city and don't see it as any sort of future for myself, much less for anyone else who really wants to step outside the frame of their particular life and think about it in some perspective. People in these small towns really do have that kind of perspective. In some ways, I think they have a much better, tighter, closer perspective on what they're doing, what they want to do, what they can do, what their potentialities are, than most of us city slickers allow. There are some extraordinary insights available to people who have put their life in a deep freeze and set it aside and said, we will now look at it and see it against what it could have been had we lived elsewhere. And I suppose in a sense that's what I'd like to do, and that's why I come here.
So what have we got? We've got three modes of thematic relationships. Three modes, three ways that thematic sections of music can relate to one another as repetitions, variations, or contrasts. When we look at Baroque landscape architecture, we see again a tremendous amount of detail where nature is shaped by the hand of the landscape architect. But what holds all of this architectural, both building and plant architecture, in shape? What holds it all together? What keeps it from flying off into visual anarchy? Symmetry. Symmetry. Balance. Baroque ceiling painting, no matter how many cherubs and angels and colors and clouds, everything is balanced. What we see on the right is reflected on the left. What we see on the bottom is reflected on the top. Symmetry, logic, and control, controlling the exuberant detail. These are metaphors, my friends. This is architecture. This is landscape architecture. This is painting. This is a metaphor for the Baroque view of the cosmos. Complex, but somehow ordered. What we saw in the Baroque-era park was nature subsumed under the hand of the landscape architect. That was, nature was meant to reflect the complexity of the cosmos and yet the control of the hand of person kind. We can imagine walking through one of these verdant pathways and having the stress of the day just leave us as we wander among nature. But here's my point. This park is as contrived and as intellectualized as the Baroque-era park we looked at in an earlier lecture. The lake was dug, the building built, the bridge placed, and the foliage planted to look natural. It's all calculated to look natural, but it is as calculated and contrived as the Baroque park.
Good pieces of music, they set up worlds with certain harmonic tensions and characters playing different roles in the drama. And those characters keep coming back. And I don't know, we will never know how conscious a composer is of doing that sort of thing, but it is there. There's no question. Let's say you're watching a movie. Two people sitting at a table talking, they leave, and then the camera lingers for some reason. And in a window across the street, there's a shadowy figure watching, and then the camera goes to black. Now, something just happened, and it's going to come back. That was significant. These moves sometimes are like that. They're little suggestions of things yet to come. So you get... Why? That's as far away as you can be from F, C flat. That becomes becomes a key later.
So much I was given. So much I left behind. Remember, the pearl. Whispering. Beckoning. Each man, each woman, the guide, the God. You live in exile. Stranger in a strange land. A pilgrim. A knight. Find your way. From darkness to light.
But you can't explain to me, as it seems to me, how the listener takes on the conductor's role, the question of determining tempo, the question of determining...
Well, have you never seen a
architecture.
turntable that was acceleratable? You know, with one of these sliding things that, in fact, gives you any range between 33 and 78. It's entirely possible to what's that rock and roll group, the Chipmunks or something? It's entirely possible to make all Beethoven symphonies sound as if rendered by the Chipmunks, you know.
Yes, but this is really...
One octave high. No, naturally I'm carrying it ad absurdum, but I'm saying it can be done. Any gradation between chosen speed of record companies is entirely possible.
But I want to hear Klemperer's Beethoven. I don't want to do my own Beethoven.
Why not? Are you afraid of your own Beethoven?
Well, I think Klemperer's got more experience for a start.
But if your own Beethoven were more satisfying to you, why would you not want to indulge it?
Well, I can't see why it would ever be more satisfying than taking the range of recordings from Furtwängler and from all the...
Well, now, forgetting about your own Beethoven for the moment, and I don't see why we shouldn't come back to that later on, but forgetting about that just for the moment, would it not intrigue you to incorporate Klemperer's Beethoven, if I may coin a heresy on this for a moment, with Bruno Walter's Beethoven?
Wouldn't intrigue me
With
at all.
George Zell's Beethoven, with Leonard Bernstein's Beethoven.
No, I'd like to keep them
Make
as
a
separate
composite Beethoven.
experiences. I don't see the virtue of making them composite.
So this is Dublon. Hush, caution, Echoland. How charmingly exquisite. It reminds you of the outwashed engravure that we used to be blurring on the blotch wall of his inkempt house. The orange tree, the glibt, the sun, the holy lamb, and, lapse not least, in Ramadown's ship hotel since the morning moment he could distinguish a white thread from a black, speared the rod and spoiled the lightning. Say them all, but tell them apart. Cadenzando coloratura. R is rubretta, and A is arancia. Y is for Yilla, and N for green Erin. B is boy blue with odalisque O, while W waters the florets of Novembrance. Yet may we not see still the broncho-ichthyon form outlined as slumbered, even in our own nighttime, by the sedge of the troutling stream that Bronto loved and Bronto has a lien on. Hic cubat edilis, apud libertinum parvulam.
Complications to right of me, complications to left of me. complex on the page before me, perplex in the pen beside me, duplex in the meandering eyes of me, stuplex on the face that reads me, and from time to time I lie back and listen to my hair growing white.
Here. Calls. Everywhere. The silence speaks the scene.
And I'm sure that anyone who buys that recording will think, what a wild idea. And indeed, it would be a wild idea had it occurred to me under the pressured conditions of a concert performance or even in a studio in the ordinary course of doing. And it only came about because one was able to sit back and take a very reflective, leisurely view of this thing and say, what can we make of it really? Is our role as an interpreter so limited that we can only say that our fingers are good for a day in the studio and then we're done with it? Or can we, in fact, sit back like a film director with his brushes and say, now, what have I really got here? What can I put together? Is there some way I can crystallize a statement that makes this better than I could possibly think it out a priori before the fact?
There's something always very puzzling about the very opening to me. I didn't understand it. But you know this chorale style. This thing right here. Now, that is odd. So what is this? It has to be something. But if you look at the upper notes of the theme, C, D flat, E flat, D flat, E flat, F, E flat, D flat. Here it is. That Eingang is a diminution of the entire first theme. It's in the proportions of the theme. That detail actually has meaning. When you read a poem for the narrative and the feeling and the language and the gist, you're reading like this. And you look at the poetic devices and the structure and the rhythm and meter, you're reading like this. And he said, real reading is reading like that.
Rain, when we sleep, drops. But wait until our sleeping. Drain. Stops.
My son. Remember. A star at dawn.
A bubble.
A bubble in a stream.
In a stream.
A flash of lightning in a summer cloud.
A flash of lightning in a summer cloud.
A flickering lamp. A flickering lamp.
Phantom. And a dream.
And a dream.
And a dream.
opened the world to me. And I believe this as much as I believe anything as a teacher. And what awaits you at the end of all of this striving and contemplation and struggle is freedom.